Once upon a time, in a very small village, lived a poor beggar who sat on the lonely path that led to the village stream. He was blind and popularly known as Error, the village beggar. Whenever the villagers walked past him, they dropped some money in his bowl. Everyone knew Error, and the people were generous to him. Some even made it a duty to bring him food. Error was always grateful for their kindness. However, no one knew where Error had come from, or if he was even a true native of their village. All they knew was that he was blind, quiet, and always sat close to the stream. One evening, a young girl named Somto was returning home from the stream when she saw Error lying by the bush, fast asleep. She noticed his money bowl filled with coins. Temptation overtook her. Somto crept quietly toward Error and stole the bowl of money, making sure not to make a sound. But just as she was about to leave, Error disappeared before her eyes. Somto froze in terror. Her heart pounded. She dropped the bowl, pleading for him to return. But Error never came back. Overcome with fear, she ran home as though chased by a ghost, locked herself in her room, and cried silently. She wondered who Error really was, and what he might do to her for stealing from him. Later that night, Somto's legs began to itch terribly. She applied ointment, hoping for relief. But by morning, her legs had transformed into those of a goat. Somto screamed, waking her father, Mazi Chukwuka, who burst into her room. He stood in horror, staring at his daughter's strange legs. "How did this happen?" he asked, shocked. Terrified, Somto lied. She claimed that Error had begged her for money, and when she refused, he cursed her. She told her father that he disappeared soon after, leaving her frightened on the bush path. Enraged, Mazi Chukwuka stormed out the next morning to confront Error. But when he arrived at the spot where Error usually sat, there was no one there. He waited all day, but Error never returned. Meanwhile, back home, Somto's pain grew worse. Her father rushed her to the hut of Uku, the village healer, who tried his best but failed. He advised Mazi Chukwuka to seek a more powerful healer near the mountains. They visited several others, but none could reverse the transformation. Soon, the entire village heard of Somto's condition. People came in large numbers to catch a glimpse of the girl with goat legs. Weeks turned into months. Somto was now bedridden, the pain too great for her to walk. He returned home and confronted Somto about the truth. He threatened to disown her if she didn't confess. Fearing her father's wrath, Somto confessed to stealing from Error. Mazi Chukwuka was devastated. He had always provided for her. Why would she steal from a helpless beggar? But this was not the first time. Years ago, a woman had accused Somto of stealing from her market stall. Somto's mother had defended her instead of correcting her. That silence had allowed Somto's behavior to worsen, and now they were all paying the price. Determined to make amends, Somto returned to the place where it all began, the very spot where Era once sat. She waited for hours, but nothing happened. Villagers passed by, some whispering, some pointing, most shaking their heads in pity. The next day she returned again. Two girls mocked her goat legs, bleeding like goats as they laughed cruelly. Somto cried, but she didn't give up. Rain fell heavily the next afternoon, and Somto took shelter in a small hut near the stream. To her surprise, an old sick woman lived there. Somto cared for her, cleaning her hut and cooking for her. The woman was deeply grateful. The following morning, Somto returned again. This time she met a young, sad boy carrying a water pot. She asked if he was all right. The boy broke down in tears. He shared his painful story. His mother had abandoned him, and his stepmother treated him cruelly. She blamed him for his father's death and made his life unbearable. Somto's heart ached for him. She gave him food and promised to help. Determined to do more, she asked him the next day if he knew anything about his mother. He gave her a small bracelet, something his mother had placed on his wrist as a baby. That evening, Mazi Chukwuka returned from a distant village with a powerful woman, a priestess who he hoped could break the curse. As soon as the priestess saw the bracelet in Somto's hand, she froze. "Where did you get this?" she asked in shock. Somto explained, and the priestess demanded to meet the boy. She revealed that the boy was her long-lost son, stolen from her by her family so she would be forced to accept her spiritual calling. They had cast a spell, hiding the boy from her all these years. Somto took her to the hut where the boy lived. They arrived just as the wicked stepmother was beating the child. In a fit of righteous fury, the priestess turned the woman into a goat. At that very moment, Somto's legs returned to normal. The curse was broken. Ara's mission had been fulfilled. What no one knew was that Ara was the spirit of the boy's father. The priestess, finally reunited with her son, thanked Somto with all her heart. They left the village together, ready to begin a new life. Somto returned home, full of joy and gratitude, not just because she was healed, but because she had learned something far more powerful than magic. The moral of the story: every action has consequences. Never take what belongs to another. The repercussions may be unexpected and severe. Ignoring or excusing bad behavior, especially in children, can lead to disastrous outcomes. Always guide and correct those you care about. Honesty, compassion, and taking responsibility for your actions are values that will always lead to redemption and growth.